So let's roll. Jerry Hilecher. No one knows me as Hilecher because everyone knows me as Hilecher, which is kind of fun because I don't know how it happened and why it stuck, but when I see people to this day and they call me Hilecher, I know me from racquetball. So I guess that's a positive part of that because I don't remember many faces, obviously, over the years. But started when I was 10 at the Jewish Community Center in St. Louis, where it's well written, known that so many great players have come from that center. 8 to 10 top pros at one time or another came from there, as well as three players that were ranked number one in the world, including Hogan, Serot, and myself. So we certainly were a hotbed of racquetball and a great program. And I'd like to shout out to Phil Smith, who is the director of Jewish Community Center. When we were very young, introduced us to handball. And most of those early players, Surratt, myself, certainly, as well as some other players that didn't even compete on the tour, great young players, got their starts from handball. And that motion led to power racquetball. It was that stepping through, whipping of the arm of handball that really changed the game of racquetball. At that point, it was paddleball. My first racket was a paddle. I remember the first national championship was, I think, 69 in St. Louis at the Jewish Community Center. And I remember walking into the health club, and there's Charlie Brumfield sitting on a bench. In the middle of a match, he called a injury timeout, and he was losing badly to a St. Louis player, an older gentleman who was our top player. And he lost first game, was down the second game, and he called an injury timeout. He was literally in the locker room for 30 minutes. And when he came back, he won the match. So that was the semifinals. And he was just joking around with the audience. So that was my first introduction to Charlie Brumfield and the mastery he had on racquetball, and certainly how he loved to hold court, whether it was on court or off court. So at that point, I recall talking to him after the match. After whether match or the tournament, he ended up losing to Bud Muehlheisen in the finals. But we bought our first Muehlheisen racket at that point. And strung rackets was brand new for us at the center and obviously changed the game of racquetball. So that was my introduction. As far as what I've achieved, certainly played for a long, long time and was in the top 10, I believe, from the day I graduated college in 76 to right before I retired, and was in the top four for maybe 8 years or so. Ranked number one in 1981. We're going to talk about the Catalina Tour, and at the beginning of the year held that number one ranking. So that's my highs, and certainly I can't say there were any lows because I loved every minute of it. It was a dream of a lifetime. Quite honored to be part of racquetball and part of the history of racquetball. I'm a firm believer of we can make whatever we want to happen. You're not going to see someone more positive attitude than me. I just love opportunities. I'm challenged by opportunities, and literally, what I'm doing now was walking into a leadership seminar. Took a lot of seminars, read a lot of positive attitude books. At the end of this leadership seminar, I stood up and retired from racquetball. I was pretty much done. My wife, new wife, was sitting right next to me among a group of 40 people. And the facilitator of the seminar asked me, all right, what are you going to do? And I'm standing up sharing that I'm ready to retire because I was done, ready to move on to something else. And he said, look at the woman next to you. You think she'd be satisfied with someone without any dream or goal in life. And I said, well, I'm going to go get a job. And so the guy says, how are you going to get a job? I just turned around to this group and said, who wants to hire me? And again, there's 40 people in this group. And someone in the back of the room said, I'll hire you. And he owned a phone company, a business phone systems. And I said, all right, I'll be there tomorrow. So literally I showed up. I didn't own a suit and tie at the time. So I was just wore a nice shirt, walked in, didn't even know what the job was. And it was sales of phone systems. So I started that day, worked there for about 6 years, left that company, started my own phone system company selling phone systems. And I bought him out a year after I started my company for $2 million and, started my company in 99. So here we are. And in fact, at 67, I just merged with another company. We just doubled in size. So some people would think it's time to retire, and I'm ready to move on to the next step. So again, I love challenges, and 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 I tell people that day, if someone owned a garbage truck company, I would have been there the next day, whether it was driving a garbage truck or whatever, and I'd probably own a garbage truck company today. So it just shows you can accomplish anything with the right attitude and desire. So I've got 4 kids. I was married at one point while I was on the tour, had a son at that point, then married my current wife. We've been married 32 years, and we have 3 kids. Son just got married last November, and they're pregnant, so we'll be grandparents hopefully in September.